most of the adult population has had the jab. And certainly all the people who are vulnerable, who might be your customers, will have had the jab and had access to the jab, or if they've chosen not to take it, if they perhaps they can't take it for health reasons, will obviously be avoiding having contact with the plumber when they come and keeping away from them, windows open, etc., etc. Why is it necessary for your staff to prove that they've had a particular health treatment in order to get a job? Do you require them to also prove their status for flu or any other issues?
Well, no, you obviously know we don't, Julie.
Why don't you?
Why don't I what?
Why don't you ask for proof that someone's had the flu jab?
Well, because we don't have a pandemic of that all over the world, killing millions.
Flu kills thousands of people every single year, and people who have the flu jab are protected from it.
Sure.
Flu is actually much more dangerous for younger people than COVID is.
Julie, you're talking about something that's not what we're on the programme about. The programme's about the vaccination. The vaccination and the epidemic that's killing millions of people, shutting businesses down, shutting down the UK. And COVID is the flu anyhow. So,
well, it's not. It's not the same. COVID's not the same as the flu. COVID is far more dangerous for older people, all of whom have been offered the vaccine, and the vast majority of whom have taken it. In which case, they're protected. Why do you have to say to your plumbers, if you haven't had a jab and you haven't proven to me that you've had a jab, then you can't work? Why do you have a right to see their medical records?
Why do I have a right? Well, as an employer, as I said, we have an obligation to protect our staff and protect our customers. So why would we allow people in our building or working for us that can go around spreading the epidemic? It's all about safety.
Hold on a minute. But this is where we come back to the flu, because flu is also a danger. Why do you check that people have had their MMR as well?
But why are we talking about flu when we're talking about the
because it's the same principle. You're saying this is so you're concerned about protecting your customers and your staff from one disease, but you're not bothered about the others.
Of course, I'm bothered about it.
But you don't. But you're not going to be asking for proof of a flu jab.
Yeah, but as I say, you're coming away from what we're on the radio.
No, I'm not. No, Charlie. This is exactly the same topic. Do you, as an employer, as someone who provides a service to people in their homes, have the right to ask for people's personal medical records? I don't think you do.
Julie, look, you're against the vaccination, yeah?
No, not at all. I'm very pro jab. I've had my 2 jabs, even though I've had COVID.
So if and when employers come into your office, are you okay that they come in and have not been vaccinated?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely fine.
You are? Okay, well that's fine, but I can't imagine that the people that run your business is going to be okay with that.
Well, no, we don't. In my building, in Talk Radio Towers, News UK, we people are not required to provide proof of having a jab to walk into the building. People are asked to wear masks. People are asked not to come to the office if they're at any risk.
We disagree. You're a bright lady and you understand the importance of having the vaccination. And the more safer that we can make it for our workers and our customers, that's what we need to do. I mean, why are people making an issue of it? I'm not the bad guy here. The bad guys are the people that won't have it, don't have it, or just want to go around spreading the epidemic.
They're not. People aren't bad guys. Look, I think that if you're at risk and you're higher at risk, I mean, you're over 50, certainly over 70s, if you're overweight, you've got any health reasons, and you're not taking the jab, I think that's a foolish decision. But we do actually allow people to make their own decisions about their own health in this country.
They can make their own decision. I'm not forcing anyone, Julie.
But you're saying I won't give you a job. Are you going to sack people who've already got a job if they won't show you their vaccine passport, or is it just new employees?
Look, Julie, if they didn't have the proper qualification, I wouldn't give them the job. If they wasn't having the right experience, I wouldn't give them a job. That's not discriminating.
That's relevant. But that's relevant, Charlie, to the job.
Well,
you can still be a plumber having not. What about someone who says, I have had the vaccine, but I refuse to show my proof of my vaccine to you because it's none of your damn business, Mr. Mullins?
I'm going to disagree with you totally. It's my business, who I employ, who I have in my building, and I go back to what I'm saying. It's about the safety of it. Look, it's not a big deal. If they've not had the jab, go and work for somebody else. I mean, what's the problem? I'm not forcing anybody. We're saying is the government are offering you a way out of this for everybody's safety. If people don't want to have it, no problem. But you won't be working. I won't mention the company, as you said. You won't be working for us.
But I come back to this issue. Is your concern?
Julie, take a breath a minute. You've got me on the thing. Let me have a chat. That's why
I thought you'd just finished.
Well, I ain't, because you keep interrupting me. Look, you know how it works, Julie. The safety is the most important thing. Look, there's no big deal with my staff. They're all happy about it. They're all over the moon. We're testing them every day, well, not every day, every few days. We've got geared up to try and, be in control of the situation. Customers are over the moon. They're asking for engineers that have been vaccinated.
Oh, I mean, Charlie, I'll tell you right categorically. On principle, I would never, if my home was being flooded right now and you were the only plumber in town, on principle, I would not use your services because of that policy.
That's your choice. Get a two-bob plumber in who ain't been vaccinated. I mean, that's your choice. You pay for a service, you pay for quality, you pay for safety, but it's not a big deal, Julie.
It is a big deal to somebody who's looking for a job. But let me come back to the question I just asked you. Is this about new people getting a job, or are you saying to people who are existing staff, if you don't show me proof of your jab, you're going to be sacked?
Yeah, you're trying to put words in my mouth.
I'm asking you a question, Charlie. That's different. Answer the question.
Don't shout. I'm not your husband. We're not man and wife having a row. You ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. We're dealing with new people that are going to start in September when hopefully the vaccination is rolled out completely. And we're saying then, we're not going to be taking you on unless you've been vaccinated.
Okay, but you're happy to send out therefore staff who are already employed by you who may not have provided the vaccine proof.
No, I never said that at all.
But you don't want to continue employing those people.
I never said that either. What I'm saying is when the time comes that we're going to be adding it to their contracts, which has been legally passed by our lawyers, Miss von der Reyer, and they're very happy with it. And our staff, if they're not happy with it, they need to go and get a job somewhere else. I mean, this is about safety of people, Julie. It's yourself and a lot of these other busybodies that are making a big deal about it. I mean,
busybodies. I'm not the person demanding to see employees' medical records.
So why don't you tell the government they're wrong for telling people we're suggesting you have the jab? It's rolled out. We're spending lots of money to safeguard people. Are the government wrong then? Are they wrong for
Sorry,
telling people?
Charlie, do you understand that there is a very big difference between rolling out a medical treatment, a vaccination program that will save lives and encouraging people to take that vaccine and people taking that vaccine, and the right of an employer to ask about people's medical records?
I'm not asking no one's medical.
You are. When you're asking for proof of a vaccine, you're asking for proof of their medical records.
I'm asking them, have you had the jab or not?
Yes, that's a medical record.
Oh, okay, so what's the big issue about that then?
I mean, do you want to know about someone's, background? You want to see their mental health records? You don't want to know whether they've had a flu jab? Do you want to know anything? I mean, this is my point is, I don't believe that you should have the right to pry into people's medical past.
No, you're making yourself busy about nothing. I mean, at the end of the day,
making myself dizzy.
Oh, you make yourself busy, Julie. You know how it works. I mean, I'm not the bad guy. I'm employing 450 people. I'm giving people a job.
That's great.
We're giving customers a good service. Am I a bad guy?
I'm not saying you're a bad guy. I'm just saying I don't think you understand the implications of what you are doing and how serious that is and what an incredible invasion of people's privacy that is.
Really? Millions of people dying all over the world and I don't understand what's going on.
Well, millions of people aren't dying in this country, are they?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
People have had the vaccination. So with the mass vaccination programme that has had massive take-up, 1 million people in their 20s signed up to get their vaccinations only on Tuesday alone. You haven't got a problem. The vaccine works. People are taking the vaccine. We'll have I think we already have herd immunity. We've got herd immunity coming up. So why would you need to worry about it?
Well, you want to make sure that whoever you've got coming working for you. No, you're nodding your head, Julie, and going all that, but you're wrong. I mean, come on. You're wrong.
I don't know I'm wrong because I think that what you're doing is
okay, Julie. So when they say to you get on a plane and you've got to have the jab, are you going to say, "Oh, don't ask me about my medical record"?
Oh, I've said very, very clearly, and I got the jab. I've got the jab for a number of different reasons, but I want to be able to get on a plane. And I want to know also that I'm no risk to anybody else, but because I'd already had COVID, so I wasn't concerned about that. But if other countries, I have no control over how they govern their countries, just choose to require me to have had a double jab to get on the plane to their country, that is their choice. But I refuse ever, under any circumstance, to show my medical records in this country.
You ain't showing a medical record. You'll have an app on your phone and
of your medical records.
Okay, so when you go to a theatre, Julie.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't show. No, I. There are a number of things. If I never get to go to a football match or the theatre or anything like that again, so be it.
Okay. So you're not going to go to theatre. You're not going to go to bars or pubs
if it's
or
required. Well, they're not going to bring it in bars and pubs. If it is, no, it is a massive invasion of people's personal privacy. It's unnecessary. It won't save a single life.
Oh, look. It sounds like you know better than my lawyer. So Miss von der Ray is saying what we're doing is for the safety of our workers and customers.
Yeah. It's legal. It's legal, Charlie. I just think it's morally wrong. We'll have to leave it there. We're way over time. I'm going to carry on getting dizzy and busy or whatever it was you said. Charlie Mullins, who runs a plumbing company.
What about the dance performance from Diversity in Britain's Got Talent? Is a Saturday night entertainment show the place for a serious political and social message like that?
Yeah, why not? I think this is a good thing. I mean, let's have more serious political and social messages on television, on radio, and let's do it in a way that people want to watch it. Let's have something that engages people, that sparks a debate, that, okay, it's dance on Saturday night TV, but people are talking about it. This is a good thing. I don't get the complaints. Isn't it terrible? Let's just have flashing lights and colours.
Well, that's in between jugglers and comedians and impressionists, is that we can agree it was a remarkable piece of art and an amazing moment of telly, but just, right routine, wrong place.
No, not at all. I don't believe that at all. I think if you have any 2 people, 3 people gathered together, they'll end up talking about politics at some point or discuss the matters of the world. Why shouldn't what you see on television reflect that? And why shouldn't what you see in a dance programme or a Saturday night entertainment show reflect some of that? It seems perfectly reasonable to me, and long may it continue.
Would you even, let's say, have a political dance on Strictly, for example?
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you? I mean, look, ballroom dancing, like any other kind of music, is suffused with politics anyway. It's very hard to play music and not bump into this stuff. If you start to think through some of the tunes you like, you'll start to see there's all kinds of political messages buried away in there. Why not do this? Why not have the debate? Lots of people talk about, let's have free speech. Let's have a debate. Okay, fine. Let's have that happen in every walk of life. Let's have these things political. Let's have, displays that engage people and get them talking and thinking about the world, rather than just, as I said, some bright lights and a bit of entertainment.
What do you think, Dominique?
I just completely disagree. I think the problem is not that, there hasn't been political messages and, kind of signals in music and sport. I think that's always been there. He's right. But the difference is in recent years is that a particular left-wing view is continually shoved down people's throats by celebrities and virtue signalers. This is the problem. And it's only ever one view that is shoved down people's throats. And when people have the goal to criticize it and perhaps point out a few things, like, for example, the organization that Diversity was supporting in that performance is a neo-Marxist organization that calls for things like defunding the police, that calls for things like the abolition of capitalism. We've seen now with the mothers of a lot of the people killed, for example, Breonna Taylor, coming out and saying that they want BLM to stop using the legacies of their dead children to garner money for themselves. It becomes a problem because what happens when celebrities push forward these types of things, it's normally because they don't really know much about politics, they've not done any due diligence in terms of research, and they're pushing forward an overly simplistic view of things. Supporting BLM is not just about supporting racial equality. People may think that that's what it's about because of what they've been told, but there are range of pernicious undercurrents when it comes to that movement that make it, politically controversial. I was attacked relentlessly for criticising Diversity's performance, and I personally believe that I've been vindicated when it turns out that co-founder Patrisse Cullors has accumulated $1 million property portfolio and has asked to actually step back from BLM because of that. A lot of these things have been vindicated with time, and I don't think it was fair that so many people still are painted as racist and misinformed for having the confidence to criticise things like that.
James, final word on this?
Yeah, no, it's completely, I'm sorry, Dominique, I just thought it was nonsense. The idea that Black Lives Matter is neo-Marxist, I'm sorry, is a conspiracy theory of a very high order. What you see when people do these things is that they're supporting racial equality. There isn't some neo-Marxist plot behind Diversity, the dance troupe. I mean, okay, I'm all for a bit of, entertainment that involves politics. I mean, come on, let's have a neo-Marxist dance troupe on next time, and then you'll see what it looks like. But the idea that Diversity is neo-Marxist, that Black Lives Matter is neo-Marxist. It's just nonsense. Conspiracy theory. Complete.
Well, it's published on the website of Black Lives Matter in America.
It's published on the website of a group that calls itself Black Lives Matter. If someone sticks a hashtag on Twitter saying Black Lives Matter, they're not calling for the abolition of the nuclear family. If somebody's taking the knee, they're not saying, I've read Das Kapital, let's go out and do that. Come on, this is nonsense.
Dominique?
Right, I'm sorry, but to say it's a conspiracy theory is in itself a conspiracy theory, because that is complete nonsense. Patrisse Cullors, the co-founder of BLM, said with chest that they are trained Marxist, and there's a
trained Marxist. Come on.
Black Lives Matter, the organisation, has all of those aims on their official
organisation? There is an organisation that calls itself Black Lives Matter. You don't think the England football team have now signed up to neo-Marxism, do you? Come on.
This whole argument about the movement not being connected to the organisation is also a conspiracy theory. Black Lives Matter, the organisation, had $90 million donated for them. When you go on Google, you don't get a string of loose movements. You get the official website, which is where all of the millions of pounds and dollars from both BLM UK and BLM USA has gone. This is misinformation, and it's dangerous to keep spreading this lie because it's not the truth.
I'm sorry, who decided it was the official website? It's just sticking words in there. Some people call themselves Black Lives Matter and set up a website. It doesn't make it official. There's not a certificate they've got from the official neo-Marxist conspiracy that decides these things. Absolute nonsense.
James, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that the Black Lives Matter movement in America seeks to defund the police.
Say something about racial equality.
James, and we can all agree.
It's a big old movement. It's a big old movement. Lots of people saying lots of different things. I don't think people taking the knee. I think
we're worryingly close to gaslighting here, James. I think you're recharacterizing reality, I think. Dominique?
Don't be silly.
Obviously, a big organisation that has received over $90 million in donations, the majority of which have actually not gone to Black families. They've gone to BLM leaders themselves and people like Patrisse Cullors' property portfolio. Obviously, a big organisation like that is going to have branches of smaller movements. But what do? They all coalesce.
Is there a membership list? Is there a membership list for this organisation?
Of the money goes. BLM UK posted on their official Twitter website, and bear in mind, Patrisse Cullors came over to the UK to help set up BLM UK. They were writing things on their website, like referring to each other as comrades, talking about free Palestine. There's a very specific undercurrent of philosophy with this movement, and to say it doesn't is just misinformation. I'm sorry.
The street saying free Palestine, is that a neo-Marxist conspiracy as well? I'm sorry, it's an organisation. Is there a membership list? Can you join? Do you pay a subscription
Well,
fee?
I understand that Black Lives Matter as an organisation have filed for becoming a political party in this country.
I'm sure some people have called themselves Black Lives Matter and have filed to become a political party, but whether that makes them officially Black Lives Matter, whether anyone has to take them particularly seriously, and certainly I would be a bit hesitant about saying some people wanting to call themselves a political party would be need taking seriously is another thing. But the idea that some people taking the knee is part of a neo-Marxist, an international, no less, neo-Marxist conspiracy theory, presumably with a membership structure and secret branches, perhaps even cells organised
Not
throughout
that
the world.
secret, James.
I'm sorry, this is nonsensical. What is there a membership list? Can you join? Can you join Black Lives Matter? Can you
it's very clear, a coherent movement with a budget, with support globally. Final thought to you, Dominique?
Yeah, James, I'm sorry, I really like you, but you really do not know what you're talking about at all. Nobody's saying that Ashley Banjo is part of some secret network of neo-Marxists. What we're saying is people that immediately ran out in support of this didn't really know the things behind the organisation, which is why the Premier League in itself had to remove their Black Lives Matter slogans from their T-shirts because of the things they were calling for, like defunding the police and abolishing capitalism. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
The reality is we do have vaccines. The reality is that the vast majority of people who've not been jabbed are at exceedingly low risk of getting seriously ill or dying of this disease, that we have improved treatment as well. How much risk are we willing to take? Because we know that thousands of people die of flu every winter, and we don't lock down the country. We don't stop people meeting, people particularly who are at low risk. Why is it absolutely justified?
I think the justification is because it is so infectious, and you can have it for several days before you know you've got it. So you're moving around, you're spreading it to other people, and the elderly are still very vulnerable.
Even after having, even we've got like virtually 99% double jabbed in some communities.
The trouble is there are still some anti-vaxxers around, aren't there? So there are a number of people who are not getting it and whose kids are not getting it, which
Okay.
is absolutely awful.
Well, it's absolutely terrible if people aren't taking the medical advice to take it, but I'm not entirely sure why millions and millions of people should have their freedoms curtailed because some people, when offered a vaccine, choose not to take it. Not really my problem.
No, there's no answer to that, is it?
No, there is an answer to that. Well, why is it if someone has been given the advice, and if someone, okay, I can understand if you've got communities where people are less trusting of the health service or authorities, and other people have gone in, and their church leaders or imams or whatever have gone in, and they're trying to persuade people to have the vaccine. If they choose not to have it, we keep the rest of the country on ice for the rest of time because some people refuse to have the vaccine? That's not right. What is there is an answer to that, Richard, and what is it?
What is the answer to that? The answer to the anti-vaxxers is to make them have it. But this is a free country.
Make them have it.
And you can't do that, can you?
Okay, so if you're not going to force people to have them, which, by the way, we should not be forcing anyone to have medical treatment, that would be unethical. So at what point, if they're not going to take the vaccine, how long do you think the rest of us should have our lives curtailed because some people still continue to want to have their lives at risk?
Oh, dear me, that's unanswerable.
No, Richard Taylor, it's not unanswerable.
Well, okay, I think the lockdown should continue indefinitely until we've got rid of this wretched bug. Yes.
I wish I had something that could beep out the words I'm saying in my head right now to you. So until we wipe out COVID for good, until every single person is vaccinated, and by the way, even if everyone is vaccinated, there'll still be people who die of COVID. As you know, it's not 100%. Yeah. Same with any vaccine. Yeah. You think we should be locked down for good? Richard, may I ask, do you just not have many friends and not live a very interesting life? Is that why you're not that bothered about having your life curtailed?
Oh, dear. No, we're talking in theory, aren't we?
No. We're bloody not talking in theory. We're talking about people's lives. We've only got one life on this planet. I'm an atheist. I don't think there's anything waiting for me in the afterlife. This is it. This is all we've got. And I want to live my life, and millions of other people want to live their lives. Children want to be at school. They don't want to wear masks on public transport. They want to go on holiday. They want to meet people. They want to have parties and weddings and enjoy their lives and go to the pub and just live a normal life. And you think it's all a theory. This is the issue. There are an awful lot of people like you who think that we should have a zero-risk life. The rest of us are realistic and accept that there are risks in life. But we're being held back by people like you. How about you stay at home for the rest of your life, you wear a mask sitting on your own in your car if you want to, and the rest of us get on with normal life? Would that be okay? I don't know why you find it funny. I don't think this is funny. I don't think taking people's freedoms is funny.
No, it isn't funny. It's extremely serious.
But you think it's okay?
I think we've got to live with a lockdown for a certain period, and nobody yet can say what that period is.
When does it end? What's the point for you at which it ends? As a doctor and as a former OMP, when does it end?
We don't know that because viruses are so incredibly clever. They can leap ahead of our defenses and they can fight back.
So we stay in lockdown forever then, basically?
We stay in lockdown until we know that it is no longer spreading and that it's not going round the rest of the world. It's a terrible, terrible...
That's forever. No, Richard, that's forever. That is forever.
Oh, dear. Well, sadly, it can't be forever, but that's the idea.
Sadly, it can't be forever. It's sad that we can't remain in lockdown forever.
No, it is sad that this wretched bug cannot be controlled.
But it can. We've got the vaccine. We've got dozens of, half a dozen vaccines that work.
If everybody would take the vaccine, But the trouble is, we've got these people who are against the vaccine and who are going to get the disease and
Yes.
go on spreading it.
Well, so what if the rest of us are protected? That's their lookout.
Okay, it's their lookout.
Well, it is, isn't it? That's their choice. In the same way that you can say, "Oh, I would never go skiing. That looks far too dangerous," and someone will say, "Well, I'm willing to take that risk. Yes, I may, even with a helmet, I may fall over and kill myself, but I'll take that risk." We allow people to take risks in their lives, don't we?
The sadness is that they're probably putting the rest of their family at risk who don't have that same opinion.
Well, then, but not if they've been double jabbed. We saw the stats. Only 3 of the people who've been hospitalised from COVID with the Indian strain, this terribly new dangerous strain, have had 2 jabs.
Yeah, but the anti-vaxxers won't allow their family to be vaxxed, presumably.
But I mean, you're making a lot of assumptions. I mean, the take-up of the vaccine has been off the scale in this country, way higher than any other country in Europe, way higher than America.
Yeah.
So why is it? Because it's a higher level of vaccine take-up than the government and the medics had ever predicted. So why is it still not high enough? It's never going to be enough, is it, Richard? It's every time you laugh, there are people right now who luckily are not on microphone or on camera who are probably probably not listening anymore because they've thrown their radios at the wall. How dare you find this funny? I find it extraordinary. My producer's Butcher, I wanted to hear what you had to say. You've been representing, issues on the NHS. I am so terrified that people like you are saying that we should stay in lockdown forever.
I don't know how to get out of the position I've got myself into now.
Well, you're a trained medic. You were elected member of Parliament. You sat on the Health Committee in the House of Commons.
Yeah.
And you think that we should basically be in a version of lockdown. I mean, you probably think we should be in more lockdown than we are now, right? You want pubs closed again, right? Is my guess?
No, I'm very, very lucky in that I have got I'm being extremely selfish because I've got a self-contained life at the moment. So
how lovely. How lovely for you. So you haven't got a business about to go under. You didn't have to worry about kids not going to school. And I mean, this is it. Do you not think there are millions of people like you sitting at home in your nice middle-class existence, no worries about your business, kids doing fine, even if they were at home, well, they had Zoom lessons, they were okay. And you don't even bother about wearing a mask because you only wear it for about 20 minutes in the supermarket every day. And you're sitting there saying, oh yeah, the rest of the country should stay on lockdown because a few people haven't been vaxxed and therefore we're not 100% safe, which we'd never be even if everyone was vaxxed. Do you not think that is actually an extraordinarily selfish and small-minded view?
I'm very sorry to admit it. Yes, I do think it's selfish, and I apologise.
I'm just glad you're not making policy, but I fear there are far too many people with your attitude who are making policy. Richard, I'm flabbergasted. I have to leave it there, but I'm absolutely flabbergasted that we are up against this. This is what we're up against. A lot of people also will be thinking it's a bit darn rich for the Labour Party to be saying, "Oh, isn't it terrible? All these children lost out on all this education." When the Labour Party kept calling for schools to be closed. We never needed to close schools. Many countries kept their schools open during even the height of the pandemic and were absolutely fine. It's a bit rich for you to be saying, oh, we've got all this trouble, we need to do something about it. You were supporting the thing that created the problem in the first place.
Well, no, I don't think I was, Julia. I think if you look back at everything I've said since I first came into the post a year ago, if you look at what Keir Starmer has said, we've always been absolutely clear that schools should be the last to close, the first to open, the best place for
But you wanted schools to be closed.
No, Julia, really.
Yes, you did.
We were very, very clear that the best place for children and young people to be was in school. There was, of course, a really difficult time in New Year when we were getting advice from SAGE that unless we closed schools for a time, the R rate would not fall below 1. You are right to draw comparisons with other countries that didn't have to do this. And I would say
didn't have to do it, chose not to do it because the data was clear that children weren't at risk and they weren't vectors in the community.
I absolutely agree with you about children. Thankfully, children are not at serious risk of illness or, sadly, death. But there was evidence that having schools open at that time was contributing to the spread of the infection in the community. Now, you're right to compare what we had done with other countries where that wasn't necessary because they put better mitigations in place. They got a testing system into schools earlier. It was
never necessary. And when schools went back on March the 8th, many people who the supposed experts were saying, well, we're going to see a surge in cases. Cases continue to go down.
They did initially, and then of course we had the Easter holidays, which was a very helpful natural circuit break. But they have been rising more recently. Now,
I'm sorry. If the cases don't rise straight after kids go back to school, then it's not related to kids going back to school.
Well,
there was a huge increase in testing. I mean, a massive increase in testing, which you're going to find more cases. If you suddenly test 5 million kids, you're going to find some more cases. The fact that those kids pretty much to a child didn't have a single symptom, totally irrelevant.
Well, I think we've got to take the advice of scientific experts. They've been clear that, first of all, there is a lag. You don't see the minute children go back to school that the number of cases starts to rise. Secondly, I accept that what you say about testing is true to a degree. If you test more people, you will identify more of the people who are infected. But it's not all related to the number of tests carried out. If you look at the sort of proportion of people in the tested population, that rises too. I think that we can see that there has been a rise. It's not clear that that's happening in school. It may just be that children travelling to and from school, mixing with family and friends, is the underlying driver of that rise. But basically, I want kids in school, but I want every mitigation that we can put reasonably in place to keep them there. And that has always been my position.
And one teaching union is now calling once again for children to wear masks again with the upsurge of the Indian variant in some parts of the country. Should children wear masks in the classroom again?
Well, as you know, I'm an MP in Greater Manchester, where we have this quite alarming rise at the moment in the infection rate, the Delta infection. And one thing that I think teachers in my region will want to be able to consider is perhaps children wearing masks again for a time while we get that infection under control. I would be saying that heads are very good at making these decisions. But
no, they're not. Heads have got no medical expertise whatsoever.
But they do need information from the government about the effectiveness of mitigations like mask wearing. And I think they're well placed to balance that with whether that aids or inhibits good communication.
Well, we know it inhibits. We know it inhibits communication. We know it inhibits learning.
Balance, Julia. It is a balance. And I would say that option for heads to be able to say that children should wear masks.
So people without any medical expertise at all to do something which we know harms children for a disease which we know causes very little illness and virtually no deaths at all in healthy children. You think that should be allowed? You want our children masked in schools?
I think heads have to have the discretion to take the measures they feel are workable and safe in their schools, but they do need the benefit of really clear and transparent information from governments. And that's what some of the head teachers unions, for example, have been calling for. Please explain to us, government, what analysis you've done of the impact of mask wearing in school.
Yeah, well,
in the meantime, I think it will provide reassurance, particularly
reassurance. And that's what it's all about. It's the theatre, isn't it?
Is that a problem?
Yes, it is a problem because we are mixing up the theatre of safety with actual safety. If masks made a difference, there would be a clear. You could see in any country where they introduced a mask mandate or ended a mask mandate, you would be able to see a clear change in the graph in the relation of cases. And there's not a single US state, not a single country in the world where you can see that. That suggests that masks don't really make much difference at all. But we know they have a negative effect.
Forgive me, Julia, neither you nor I is medically qualified.
No, I don't need to be medically qualified to look at a graph.
A moment ago you said that heads did need to be medically qualified, and now you say you and I don't. The World Health Organization did recommend mask wearing. I don't think I should be saying
they didn't recommend it for the first few months, actually, and with no new evidence whatsoever, they decided to change the advice because it's about the theatre. It's about reminding people there's a pandemic. It's not about actually making a difference. There is simply no proper empirical world evidence that masks, and again, Ofcom can complain as much as they want. There is no convincing evidence whatsoever that shows they make any real difference. At some margins, at 1 or 2%, there might be some difference. But the reality is, you have not seen changes in case numbers in any country when they introduce or end a mask mandate.